What's up, everyone? It's Bones here. While opening up the gates of nostalgia, I kind of got smacked by New School, and it led me to this video. But before I begin, if you're a fan of in-depth combo videos, new set coverage, and occasional fun stuff that we like to do on the channel, then click on those thumbs up and subscribe buttons to give them a rite of passage, along with our community's beloved Pharaoh Atem. Now, for this first combo, we'll start with the New School stuff, and we're going to start with the Super Heavy Samurai Waka, and I know that some people may hate the fact that I'm using pendulums in this because it's supposed to be Yugi, but I promise that the payoff is definitely pretty cool. So we're going to start with the Waka getting itself on board as we place the Big Benkei, use the effect of the Big Benkei, which will get us the booster, and now we can use the effect of the booster, as this will be able to place it on the spell and trap zone equipped to the Waka, as we're going to then use its effect while on the spell and trap zone, and then special summon it so that we can then go into our Gear Gigant X, and then we're going to use the Gears effect, which will allow us to search a machine level 4 or lower, and that's going to be our first new card, the Tricolor Gadget. Now, this card reads, you can only use the 1 and 2 effects of this card's name once per turn. If this card is normal or special summoned, you can add 1 Gold Sarcophagus of Light, or 1 spell that mentions it from your deck to your hand. The second effect is, if this card is destroyed by battle or card effect, you can set 1 Hidden Fortress Stronghold directly from your deck. Now, I will say I don't know if all the cards are worded 100% accurate, because this is all still new stuff, and these are just customs on Dueling Book that I got, and down the road there may be translations that I just don't know if they could change things or not. As of what we know now, I'm going to continue here as I'm going to normal summon the Tricolor so that we can get ourselves the Gold Sarcophagus of Light, and this is a continuous spell that the deck really centers around. It reads, you can only use the second and third effect of this card's name once per turn. The first one being, cannot be destroyed by monster effects. The second one, during your main phase, you can add 1 card from your deck to your hand that mentions Gold Sarcophagus of Light, except Gold Sarcophagus of Light. So that's a really good effect on its own. And then the final effect reads that if your opponent special summons a monster from the graveyard, you can discard 1 spell, then target one of those monsters as a cost, send it to the graveyard. So a nice little effect overall. It does mean that you have to pitch a spell card in order to get removal, but the search effect is really what you want here, as it adds some needed consistency, but we're now going to use its effect as we're going to get ourselves the Silence Towards the Future, and now you've seen the 3 main consistency cards that the deck has, giving us 9 total searchers in this archetype, and I just thought that was really cool. But this card reads, you can only activate 1 card with this card's name per turn. The first one being, add 1 monster from your deck to your hand that mentions Gold Sarcophagus of Light. Then, if you activate this card during the battle phase while you controlled Gold Sarcophagus of Light, and a monster that mentions it, each player draws until they have 6 cards in their hand. So a really strong effect overall, but most of the time you're just going to be using the searcher, and there will be times where, as you see, we're just going to link summon into SP because we don't have any extenders. So in this scenario, I'm just going to add yourself anything else, which I'm going to get the Marshmelon, and this is just a new card that you really won't be playing, but I'm still going to read it anyways. It reads, you can only use the 1 and 3 effect of this card's name once per turn, and the first one being, during your opponent's turn, if you control Gold Sarcophagus of Light, quick effect, you can special summon this card from your hand. While you control Gold Sarcophagus of Light, this card cannot be destroyed by battle. Also, your opponent's monsters cannot attack, except to attack this card. The final effect is, if this card is destroyed by card effect, you can special summon 1 Marshmelon from your hand, deck, or graveyard, and if you do, inflict 1000 damage to your opponent. So, a little hand trap that you have here that can protect you from death, but it's just very niche, and I feel like with 9 search cards, this deck potentially has more purpose than that. And as you see, we're just going to end on this, but keep in mind that what you search can vary depending on what you're playing. For example, you can get another copy of the Tricolor Gadget. You can get yourself the copy of the Gandora if you want to special summon it in order to get yourself another body on board. But assuming that you only really have 1 card, then the Marshmelon is, funny enough, probably the best thing that you can add off of this right now. Unless you just want the Tricolor Gadget for the follow-up, which is nice too. Now, for this second combo, if you want to move on to the next 2, you definitely can, but I just want to show 2 of the new other cards cards that we are getting, or 3 actually, as we're going to start here by using the effect of the future on the draw phase so that we can get our tricolor, and then we're going to normal summon our tricolor so that we can use its effect, getting our Silent Magician 0. This is a level 4 spellcaster effect monster that reads you can only use the 3 effect of this card's name once per turn. The first one being when your opponent draws a card, increase this card's level by the number of cards drawn. The second one being, if this card's level is higher than its original level, it gains attack equal to the difference times 500. And the third one is, when your opponent activates a spell card or effect while you control Gold Sarcophagus of Light, quick effect, you can negate the activation, and if you do, increase this card's level by 1. So we're going to continue here by being able to activate the Gold Sarcophagus of Light, and this is going to get us our next new card, Ties of the Comrades. It reads you can only activate 1 card with this card's name per turn. If you control Gold Sarcophagus of Light and a monster that mentions it, you cannot special summon monsters from the extra deck for the rest of this turn after this card resolves, so that is pretty important to note. Also special summon up to 2 level 4 or lower monsters with different names from your hand or deck that mention Gold Sarcophagus of Light, which means that you can bring out the Silent Magician 0, and you can also bring out your Marshmelon if you do want to play that. It gives you protection from battle for all that, which can come up, and I'll show something really cool next, but we're then going to get our Silent Swordsman 0, and this card reads that you can only use the 3 effect of this card's name once per turn. The first one being, once per turn during the standby phase, increase this card's level by 1. The second one being, if this card's level is higher than its original level, it gains attack equal to the difference times 500. And the third one is, when your opponent activates a card or effect that targets Gold Sarcophagus of Light or a monster that mentions it, quick effect, you can negate the activation, and if you do, increase this card's level by 1. And this is something kind of cool that you can play if you want to play the pure version of the deck. You'll see that I have a bunch of engines mashed in here, as you saw the Super Heavy Samurai, but we're just going to end our turn on this since we're extra deck locked, and I know that it's not ideal, but again, the entire point of this combo was just to show the new card. Now, this next combo is also pretty niche, but as you see, we're using the Visa Samsara, and this requires you to have the Marshmelon on board along with the Gold Sarcophagus of Light. So this assumes that your opponent has already had their turn, you've activated Gold Sarcophagus of Light, and then you top deck or you already drew into Visa Samsara. And we're going to start here by normal summoning the Visas, and we're then going to go into our Light Heart. Keep in mind, this is not a competitive combo, just to reiterate that, but we're going to get our Reichphobia. We'll then be able to activate the Reichphobia, and we're going to get our Visas, as we're then going to use the effect of Visas in order to pop the Marshmelon, and then we're going to use the Marsh in order to get our real Marshmelon, or the OG, as then we'll go into our Cross Sheep, and now we can go into our Visas Astrolaud. From here, we can then use the effect of the Cross Sheep in order to bring back the Marshmelon, and now we can do something really cool because we have 2 level 3s. I'm going to go into our Goblin Rider Exceed to get a search. I am going to detach early because I was lagging really hard, so I just wanted to speed up the process, but you normally wouldn't detach there. We will end up detaching with the effect of our Goblin Rider Doug, and we're going to use its effect that we're going to be able to special summon it, detach the Marshmelon, as we'll then be able to use its effect to search. We'll then search the Grand Arrival, as we'll then be able to go into our Appaloosa, and now we're going to be able to activate the Grand Arrival, as we'll get ourselves our next Goblin Rider, the Clutter, and this will give us the ability to special summon it. And something else that's pretty cool here is how many options that you get off of this, because now we have link plays, you have more cards that you can potentially have in hand to go with this. I would also like to point out, if a material is detached from a monster on the field, which we just kind of did, you can target one other face-up monster on the field and attach it to this card, meaning that if your opponent has something, you can steal it. And we're then going to be able to use the effect of Clutter here, as we're going to get the Revival of the Doug so that we can then get materials for the SP Little Knight, and then we'll be able to use the effect of the Arrival if you do happen to get the material from your opponent's side of the field. In this case, we won't be, just because we're working on limited cards, and I didn't want to add variables that we couldn't control into this, even though that kind of is how the combo started. That said, you will be able to get a Goblin Rider back to your hand by banishing it to the graveyard if you do happen to get an extra material onto this. Okay, now for the final combo, I'm going to show what I really wanted to give you all a vision on what I had when coming up with these ideas, and I decided to get a hand full of gas, and it's just going to be all monsters. As you see, we are playing the Waka Flocka, and it really doesn't matter it isn't all monsters since we will be starting with it anyways, so we're going to get our Big Benkei's effect, as then we'll use its effect to search the booster. We'll use the effect of the booster. We'll then be able to special summon the booster off its own effect. We'll then go into our Omega, and you're going to do this in order to play around Nib, since we will be summoning a lot here. But I also would like to point out that if you are playing against Tier or something else that may lose to Dweller, you can go into that quite easily, since you don't have to go into your gear during this hand, since we already have the Tricolor gadget. So now we're going to use the effect of the Waka in order to scale it, which means that we have another Pendulum summon along with the normal summon, so that's just really cool that we have the ability to do that. We'll use the effect of the Horus, and this gives us the Samsara as an extender now that we have Visas in the graveyard. We're going to get the King Sarcophagus. I got the Triple Tactics talent just to show that it's a draw. It can be any card, but we're going to use the effect of the Samsara, special summoning it so that we can go into our Lightheart. We'll then be able to use the Light in order to get us our Scareclaw or our Reichphobia, and then we'll be able to activate the Reichphobia so that we can get our Visas, and now we can normal summon the Tricolor, and then get ourselves the Gold Sarcophagus of Light, as from here we'll be able to activate the Gold Sarcophagus of Light, get ourselves the Silence towards the future, and then from here we can activate the Visa Starfrost, pop the Tricolor gadget. This will give us the ability to get our next new card, the Stronghold, the Hidden Fortress. First effect reads, special summon this card as an effect monster, Machine, Earth, level 4, attack 0, defense 2000. With these effects, this card is also still a trap. Gains 1000 attack for each card you control that is Gold Sarcophagus of Light or a monster that mentions it. Per turn, when an opponent's monster declares an attack and you control Gold Sarcophagus of Light, you can destroy that monster. So a cool little card here, but we're going to be able to continue our turn as we're going to then go into our Cross Sheep. We can then use the Visa Samsara and the Visa Starfrost in the graveyard to go into our Astrolaud, and then we'll use the Cross Sheep, bringing back the Tricolor gadget, giving us another body, as we're then going to be able to use our future in order to search our next new card, Eos Gandora, or however you pronounce that. It reads, you can only use the first and third effect of this card's name once per turn. The first one being, if you control Gold Sarcophagus of Light, you can special summon this card from your hand. So it being a level 8 and the Horus cards being in the graveyard, you see how this can synergize pretty well and give you even more options. But the second effect reads, gains attack equal to the number of banished cards times 300, and the third effect reads, you can pay half your life points, and if you do, destroy all other cards on the field, and if you do, banish them, and you can special summon one level 7 or lower monster from your deck that mentions Gold Sarcophagus of Light. The monster special summoned by this effect gains levels equal to the number of cards destroyed by this effect. So a cool way to tutor out your Silent Swordsman or your Silent Magician. And so we'll special summon out the Gandora, as we're then going to activate the King Sarcophagus so that we can bring back the Imseti. And with 3 level 8s on board, we're going to go into our Coach King, and I'm just going to search 3 random cards. Whatever you get can add even more to this board, but I just don't want to give more randomization just to show what the hand itself can do. So from here we're going to get that last draw, as we're then going to be able to continue our turn by going into the Appaloosa, and then from here we can end our turn on this, I believe, take you on to the deck profile. Those out of the way, we can finally get onto the deck profile and to search out your Gold Sarcophagus of Light, or even can get your Silence Towards the Future, which can get you into another copy. It's just a cool little deck thinning way. The fact that you have a free 8 that also happens to cards, which happen to be Egypt-based cards, and I just love that they work together with this deck. That said, the Super Heavy Samurai stuff and the Visa stuff really came together thinking about how I could search this out to make the deck more consistent, and Gear being able to search out any level 4 or lower machine just helps with that. That said, I would say that the weakness that this deck has is that with all these engines, you're also playing a lot of Garnets. The Stronghold itself isn't really a great card overall, especially if you're opening with it. There's also the level 8, which if you open this alone, it's not great. You have your Benkei's, which I get aren't technically bricks, but they aren't great either. The same thing with the booster. Going second cards, your King Sarkach doesn't really have any great discards in this deck. That is something I would like to mention. There is the quality to send the Visa Starfrost and then have the ability to special summon out the Samsara and then get your plays rolling that way. That said, there's probably room for improvement there. I just wanted to fit in going second card because, as you see, we do play a lot of engine. And there is one more card that I actually didn't get to go over. It's called Silence of Time Turn Silence. It reads, you can only activate one card with this card's name per turn. The first one being, target one face-up monster you control, increase its level by 3, and if you activated this card in response to your opponent's monster effect activation, while you controlled Gold Sarcophagus of Light and a monster that mentions it, negate that effect. The second one being, if your monster that mentions Gold Sarcophagus of Light battles during the damage calculation, you can banish this card from your graveyard as a cost and end the battle phase. So a niche little card there that I also didn't feel was worth playing. I feel like if you're going to play any of the spell traps from Ties to Stronghold and the Silence of Time, it should be the Stronghold because you have the ability to pop the tricolor gadget with the Visas. Now that said, you may not even want to play this. You don't want to play the Stronghold and can probably play another engine if you would like to. Because I wanted to showcase the new card and I'm just working on little time because I'm doing it on the same night that these cards were revealed, there's just nothing that really sticks out to my mind that works as fun as this does. With all of that out of the way, I'm just going to take you onto the card by card since I pretty much showed everything I wanted to in the combos. We have the 3 tricolor gadgets, we have the 3 Waka Flocka, we have the 3 Visa Samsara, we have the 3 Horus and Seti, the 2 King Sarcophagus, the 1 Happy, the 1 Thrust, the 2 Visa Starfrost, the 2 Reichphobia, the 3 Future, the 1 Stronghold, the 1 Gandora, 3 Gold Sarcophagus, 3 Droplet, the 2 Big Benkei, the 1 Booster, the 3 Talents, the 3 Imperm is an option that you can also play. I forgot to mention that. There is rank 8 flex spots that you have here. You may want to play the Coach King though, since it's pretty easy to get the extra level 8 out with the Visas, Astrolaud, and the Gandora. And then we also have the Marshmelon, which if you want to play that with the Visa stuff, you can. I just don't really recommend it. There's Draco Berserker of the Tenyi, which is another option if you don't want to play Omega. I just like Omega more because it plays around Nib. And then, of course, there's your other one-ofs that you can play in this deck that I just don't really recommend because they don't do anything for the deck's consistency like the rest of these cards do. Then onto the extra deck, we have the Apo, the Cross Sheep, SP Little Knight, Lightheart, Typhon, Zeus, Coach King, Hope, the Photon Lord, Gear, 41, Dweller, Mega, Baron, and Vicious Astrolaud, or Vicious Astrolaud, to round out the deck profile. For everyone who's made it this far into the video, I'd like to thank you so much for watching and for the 600 plus subs. I truly appreciate your support. We've monetized the channel, giving us access to supers and memberships, which means that more awesome stuff is on the horizon. The channel membership, click on the description below, and there will be a link that takes you there. You'll also notice a free Discord link that I've made for us too. If you want to support me as a content creator, even if you can't donate supers or get a membership for the channel, clicking on those thumbs up and subscribe buttons help a lot too. Anyways, I hope to see you on the next one. It's Bones, signing out.